Let me know if you know what that car, where that car is from. That thumbnail I'm using is a picture of a car, but that there's a scene in a movie, and that's that scene where the car is turning around in the street and it crashes into a dumpster. I'll give you a hint. It's in Los Angeles. It's also in I think it's around Hollywood somewhere. As I looked it up, it's funny. But the movie that scene, the car in my thumbnail, that movie is funny as hell. I watch it every time I watch it. I try to keep a straight face, like, oh, I've seen it all before. I'm just like bored and I have it on in the background or something, and I'll hear it or I'll see it. Because what I'll do is I'll just put movies on and they'll just repeat during the day. I'll have my TV on, and most of the time, like lately, I've been turning the volume all the way down, and I'll just have the TV on playing a movie, and then I'll have like music that's from that boombox playing that plays USB sticks, and I dance around too a lot. I spend a lot of time. I'm either dancing, or I'm lifting weights, or I'm doing like yard work or some like physical, or I on that elliptical machine. Sometimes I put a yoga mat out and I try to do yoga. I need to do it more often. I don't do yoga enough, because yoga it makes your body more flexible. It doesn't. If you just lift weights all the time, maybe that's not. You're probably using parts of your body that you should use, that you could use when you're more physically. When you're laying down in different laying down positions, you're stretching out different parts of your body that you wouldn't stretch if you're just standing up. Yeah, I've been exfoliating too. So what I'll do is I'll get my skin really soapy. I'll take a scrub brush and I'll brush myself really good all over my skin here on my front, especially areas in my body. When I was younger, I got sunburn there a lot. And when you get exposure to the sun a lot when you're younger, and you get sunburns a lot, and then when you get older, you start getting like your skin might not be as resilient because you've had to shed a lot from big sunburn. So just like I would never get a tattoo because I have a lot of freckles and I have like family history of like skin cancer. So I have to be careful of my skin. Yeah, I was thinking, what should I talk about, right? And I've been listening to people talking about the economy and how they say they're going to raise interest rates 25 basis points in December. They're going to decide at the FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee. It's kind of weird. If you study the central bank, right? You study the banking system and the economy, that part of the economy, and it's almost like they're at this big machine that's really complicated, and they're turning the dials and they're trying to adjust it as things are happening. They're trying to they're compensating for that by adjusting it. Then the money supply is a lot like that. It's all out there. And it's complicated, right? There's sometimes political pressure to make money flow here rather than flow here. I've been noticing on my solar stocks that I have a lot of money invested in in solar power related kinds of companies. They're talking about building nuclear power reactors. So they want to start building all these nuclear power plants again, and take away money from renewable, like the wind and solar and tidal and grid batteries for the grid. And so all of the whole the whole infrastructure of solar, the racking and the wiring and the gate, the circuit breaker panels, and all the connectors, the framing that goes for mounting panels, whether it be ground mounted or roof mounted. There's a guy I watch, he's called Solar Goat, and he goes around and he takes off a lot of panels that were put on people's roofs, because what happens is you punch holes in your roof. When you put solar panels, you have to put the clips that mount the panels and the racks and the standoffs. So you have these standoffs that go right into the roofing structure, and they're like guessing, well, is it going to go through the plywood only, or is there a framing member there? So when they mount it, they need to know where there was a framing member where they're mounting those. And Solar Goat, his outfit, they have a company there, and they're selling these standoffs, and they have a special epoxy. So when they mount it, the water can't leak in over time. Because the problem the guy's having is they're having to go and they're having to remove the solar panels that were put on all these roofs, because when they mounted the solar panels racks on top of the roofs, wherever they put the standoffs, it poked holes through the roof. So over time, with freezing, thawing, a lot of excessive heat in the summer, and then freezing and thawing, that water it tears apart that material, so you have to weatherize wherever you put something in through the roof into the framing of the house or onto the base of the roof boards, the plates that go up and make up your roof. They poke holes through those. So when they go back, they're using another standoff that doesn't breach. When it does, it breaches through the material, but it seals it better. So it's it's self-cocking. So when they mount it, it cocks itself. So that way they can put the rails, and then when the rails are up, they can mount the panels on top of the rails. The guy's up there, he's climbing up and down ladders it's like no big deal, like he's up walking on the edge of the roof. Because I noticed, well, he's not wearing any of the harnesses, right? That where you strap yourself through like a line and have an eye bolt somewhere, and you tie yourself off when you're on your roof. If you're doing that a lot, you should have some kind of a safety. Unless you got scaffolding right there where you're working. If you're working and then you have some scaffolding that's just like within like a step down, right? It's not far down. Then you could, if you lost your footing, you'd fall onto the scaffolding and not. So I could see that because I noticed that if people get these panels and they have an existing roof, and then they have these racking and the panels put on the roof, then later on they have problems, because when they first built the house, they didn't consider that there's going to be extra weight, like snow load. So you have your snow, right, and it builds up and it gets heavy. If you get 2 or 3 feet of snow on your roof, that's a lot of weight. Now, if you have glass and metal and wiring and whatever, and all the weight of the solar panels on the roof, it adds up, right? If it's not rated, if you're structurally not rated for that house, it can't hold that much weight if there's a heavy snow. So that too, that's what, and from what my experience has been using solar power is, I would rather have it mounted on the ground. I would rather have it a good ground mount that I can just stand up, right? It's the height of me. So if it gets lots of snow on it, or there's a problem, something goes wrong, I can just walk up to it and repair it. I don't need to climb up a ladder and go way up on a roof in the middle of winter if there's a problem. If there's some kind of electrical problem during the winter, when the stormy weather or whatever, if it's there and I could just walk up to it, right, and take care of it from the ground and not have to get on a ladder and go on a roof, that a ground mount system is way more. Even if you say, well, it's taking up room, you can use underneath it for storage, right? If you needed to, you could keep gardening equipment or something underneath the panels where the racks are. or barbecue, or like a ping pong table or a picnic table or whatever during the winter months. You could use the under the panels for like storage. So people would say, oh, it's a waste of space, right? A rack on the ground. Oh, you're going to take up all that room in your yard. But if you live in a place where there's a lot of snow, you get heavy rains or even strong winds. You don't want a tornado coming through and ripping the panels off. When a tornado comes through and it tears the roof off, if there's all these solar panels on the roof, when the tornado comes, you're going to get all these metal and glass shards and flying right in the wind of the tornado. You'll have these huge glass panels flying in the air, So it's one more reason to have a ground mount, right? If you live in an area where there's ever any chances of a heavy wind, right? You want to be able to, oh, we're going to get heavy winds. I better go out there, and you could like maybe tie it down with there's some straps or cables hanging on the end with some eye bolts. So you could just like clip them on so it get more. So if wind did come through, they wouldn't be as much of a hazard as they are way up on a roof, where they could get flying in the air, where your neighbor's going to get your panels, right? When the direction, wherever the direction of the wind is, that's going to blow your solar panels off your roof onto the street or onto your neighbor's property during a windstorm. But if you have a ground mount rack system on the ground, and you can also do, adjusting it too for the winter or for the time of the year, you could like have it, you could maybe put it on a rack that you could adjust at least, tilt it a little more towards the sun or away from the sun, depending upon the season, or if you're shaded in one part of your yard and there's sun that always comes from that one side, you can point them, so ideally every house should be all south facing, right? Your whole neighborhood should be all laid out to where every house is a south facing and area for a rack for a ground mount. But no, they put roof. They only think solar on a roof. That's all they think about. It's just put a solar. They think solar power, roof. They don't think that, oh, you build it. If you build it on the ground, there's lots of advantages to that, right? It's easy to get to if something goes wrong. I know it's like takes up space, but so I put in pitching here for solar, right? And solar has a lot of potential. I'm not selling. I mean, I'm not. I think what I'd like to do is sell off some of my mining stocks. I own stocks in the junior miners, First Majestic, Fortuna, Pan American, Gatos. I got some, what was that? Other silver miner, Avino, gold and silver. I have Silvercorp Metals. I have, Hecla Mining. So I have lots of stock in some of the junior silver miners. I could sell some of that off and buy something like solar. If it keeps going down more, I'm going to get it when it's a lot cheaper. Maybe it'll just keep going down. I can buy more of it. I got like three shares at end phase. I'm dollar cost averaging that stock about over $120 a share. Yeah, that was one. Whenever I buy a stock because somebody on the internet told me or I read it usually it's they're selling it, they're hyping it up. When I listen to them, I usually just buy like one share. I want to see what it's going to happen to it. So when I listen to somebody say, buy this, right, or I'm buying it, look how good it is, and they show the history of it, they talk about it a lot. And I go, oh, that sounds interesting. That's an interesting company. So I'll buy like Enphase. I bought a share when it was at 150. It was around 150. I bought a share. And either it was MoneyVest or it was Financial Education. One of these channels is talking about Enphase, which is a California-based. They make electronics connector that goes right on the solar panel that converts the direct current into the 60 cycle AC current right there, right on the panel. So you're not doing DC and then transferring the DC over a long distance to get to your inverter box. Your power conversion from direct current to alternating current is happening right on the solar panel. Each individual panel is connected to an inverter that's converting it over to AC power right there. So you can run, regular, regular wire, not heavy wire, but just regular, not so thick a wire as you would for DC. You could lay that from your ground mount to your meter, your house meter, and your shutoff switch. I was trying to get it to where this is what I was my setup. This is what I wanted to do. I had a day-night switch that would turn on during the day. No, I'm sorry. It would turn on when the sun went down. It would turn on the charger that would charge my battery bank from the wall power. So I had it automatically come on at dusk to turn on the AC power to charge the system. So where it would be, I wouldn't notice using it. I'd leave the inverter on all the time. It's on the battery bank. And then at night, it would just charge from the wall. And then during the day, the solar would charge it. And I could just have it like a dedicated, like maybe one room in my house somewhere. I could have a socket, an outlet in that room, and it would be tied to my system. And I could just use it for like lights and fans, but I would never have to think about it, right? It's just on all the time. And then I bought a voltmeter, and I was going to mount the voltmeter next to the plug so I could see the voltage of the batteries. If I was using too much power, it would tell me the drain of the battery, so I'd stop using it, and it would give it time to recharge back up. And this is actually built into I was listening to a professor. He sells those chargers. Everything's built in. It has the outlets for the USB-C, USB, has the outlet for a 12 volt power for cigarette lighter. It has the solar in adapter, which is that style. It looks like a D. It's flat on one end, and it's got the cartouche symbol, or then the two prongs that are on the device. The male is on the device, so the connector's a female for the solar, and then that connects to it has MC4 connectors, and it had the pass through too. The pass through, also known as uninterrupted power supply. And that's what I was trying to build. I was trying to build with lead acid batteries, but they're no good anymore. I still have them, but I need to sell them or something. They're sealed lead acid batteries, glass mat, AGM. What else is I going to do? Yeah, the devices for portable power, right? If you go travel or anything, you go anywhere and you're away from your car and you can't charge your devices, you could get these little, they're little sticks, and you could charge them. And if you ever need extra power, you plug your phone into that, and it's like portable. You could carry it around in your pocket, but it's an extra a source of rechargeability for your smartphone or your lights or your MP3 player, whatever you're using. That's a small, less than 200 watts, So he was selling those too. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name. I have it on my favorites list. I'll have to put a link to that. That was expensive. I have Kyocera. I have 85 watt Kyocera polycrystalline panels. I have 4 of those. I got 6 Siemens 55 watt monocrystalline. No, they're 75 watt monocrystalline. They're long panels. I have a few of those. I bought them all used on eBay. But today you can get solar panels. They're pretty, you get good ones for, like 300, 400 watts, which you can only use if you get a good high wattage panel. Then you can charge your little box, your solar generator box. So it's like, instead of like buying a separate battery, buying a gauge for amps, buying a volt gauge, buying wiring for hooking the panels up to a switch, to a fuse, to the fuse, to the charge regulator, from the charge regulator to the battery bank. You got your battery bank connection to the inverter that's converting the DC into AC, and then you got your line out and wires and fuses, and it's all mounted, and all that. So you don't need to do that anymore. Like back in the aughts, right, when I was building my solar setup, I had to put everything like separate. It was a pain, and there was lithium ions. There wasn't any lithium ion batteries back then. Only lithium ion batteries back then were the ones in the phones. They didn't have them for even like. I thought, wow, here's like a chain. Here's like gardening equipment or drills. Yeah, they started like power tools. They started converting those over from the nickel metal hydride batteries to the lithium ion, not the iron, but now they have iron. So those you could get more cycles out of the iron batteries, but I think they take longer to charge, the lithium ion batteries. And they're a little heavier too than the ones that they put in Vic cars, which I have some stock at some companies that are battery companies. I have BATT, which is an ETF. And that's like a basket of companies in the ETF. There's like Tesla, there's like First Solar, I think Enphase. No, I think, yeah, maybe. And there's some CATL or BYD. I think it's an ETF. It actually has both Tesla and BYD in the fund. So yeah, that one's gone down. I don't know. I should buy more. Maybe I should sell off a lot of my electric car stock. Maybe I should sell that off and buy stock in Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat goes under $5. I'm going to start buying more of it. When it goes around, it hits around $5. I just bought 20 shares. I paid $5.19 a share. Used my Robinhood account. Hopefully it'll make the dollar cost average go down where it is now. I'm like dollar cost averaging at like almost $20 a share. I like bought a few shares and it was over 100, like 1 or 2 shares. It was like 120 or something. And it went down to 60 and at 50 and 40. And I bought a bunch of shares when it was in the 30s. And like, how could you sue for they didn't label their product with the correct amount of protein. So when they labeled the meat products, they were lower in the they were higher in the protein rating than what they had somebody audited them and tested all their meats, and then they made a class action lawsuit claiming that people were cheated of the amount of protein that the packaging said it had on it. So and it is, if you have proof of purchase, you could send you so much back from your purchase, up to like $75 million. So it's like, well, at least you know what, it's something, because their food is good. I like the taste of it, but I think if somebody's always eating it all the time for every meal, like the household I grew up in, we were all meat eaters. We ate meat at every meal since I was a toddler all the way to when I was 18. When I started when I moved out of from my parents, we ate chicken, we ate hamburgers, we ate lamb chops, we ate pork roast, we ate steak, we ate liver, we ate everything meat. My dad was a meat eater. He was like we were all like, that was a normal thing for everybody to eat meat at every meal. Nobody thought, wow, there was an animal there, I had to go through all the endure that. I wasn't around other people that weren't, I didn't grow up in the Bohemian area of like Northern California, or I was never around a lot of people who were Hindu that were from India. So I didn't really learning about vegetarianism was women that were trying to go on a diet and lose weight. That was when you heard about somebody that was a vegetarian. They were a vegetarian for that. It was just because they wanted to lose weight or they wanted to be healthier looking. And there wasn't any question about, well, what does the animal have to do, right? You're using an animal, you're gaining pleasure and comfort from someone else, right? You're enjoying your meal experience because somebody else is paying the price for that. Not a price in dollars, a price in that other being, what it had to go through. What's the comfort, the experiences of a really small retarded child, right? Or an animal that doesn't, it's still someone there, and you're benefiting from them. You're experiencing their life, eating them. So I thought, this is not. I look at myself in the mirror and I think, well, what can I do for my own karma? I think about like my karma, and I think about, well, I don't want that hanging over my head. I want to be able to like lay and sleep in bed at night and know there was no one there I bothered, right? I left everyone alone and let them be. I didn't interfere with, someone else's, their experience of their being alive. I didn't make them have to be there, force them to be there. And I think I dreamt I was a few times I was different animals too. So I got, when I was a kid, when I was younger, animals were more like, if you owned something, right? Let's say you owned a soccer ball, or you owned a bicycle, or you owned a lamp, or whatever, a piece of equipment or machinery or a tool or whatever thing you owned, that was an animal. When I was growing up, I was taught that animals are like anything that's a thing, right? It's like an object to be used. Its utilitarian value is for food. A farmer breeds an animal, raises it for food, and you just accept that that's what you need to do to order to survive. If you stop eating meat, I was brought up to learn that if I was to stop eating meat, I would get really sick and emaciated, lose a lot of weight, and get like dark circles under the eyes, like be like weak, and not be strong, lose my strength, have like break bones easy, or my fingernails would start really breaking easy off the cuticle and that. But since 2011, when I was really starting from being vegetarian, less to being more plant-based, 100% or 99.9, whatever, from eating an M&M or a donut, that had eggs in it, because it was like, well, there was somebody put a donut in front of me. They had a bag of M&Ms and they were able, and they gave me some. I'm like, okay, and I didn't think, well, there's cow milk there. But now when I shop, I go and I intentionally look for things that don't have cow's milk in it, or eggs. like they have a bakery at the grocery store. And everything they bake in that bakery has eggs in it. And I've asked people, and they look at me crooked-eyed, like I'm from somewhere else, you know. They think like vegan people are like people that don't eat animals is not normal in many places, right? Now, if you live downtown where there's more culture around, and there's more boutique grocery stores, you know. But if you live like way out where I live out, where people own cows, they have cattle and chicken farm, they raise chickens and raise turkeys and have pigs and horses and cows in their yards, right? So you go to the market and you stock up on your beans and your rice. I may get canned beans. I've been opening the can, and then I pour it out in a strainer, and I put it under the water, and I rinse the beans off really good, and it gets all the salt, gets most of the salt. Because I got my salt levels with my blood really high once. I had to take my blood pressure. I haven't done it in a while, but what's this thing here? I'm curious to see what it is here. I'll take my blood pressure on my. I should be sitting down and still, not moving. I'll be back. Whoa. It's got all these Christmas lights put up for my psychology. Just dealing with the cold, more winter time, you know, just just move this down a little more here. an error message. I hope the battery's in. $158/95. Oh, that's high. It's not good. Not good at all. Watching that show, Ozark, on TV, Netflix. Yeah, Ozark. Yeah. That girl, that little spunky, curly-haired girl, she's a spicy woman, dude. It's too bad about her boyfriend getting murdered, getting killed like that, because he was. You have to watch the show. He's got really bad bipolar or schizophrenia. Manic depression, yeah, manic schizophrenia. Or manic. The cat's out here with me. Keep it down. So. Yeah, I think if you're not careful, you can get tinnitus. You have this too. If I have this too loud, it'll get messing with my hearing. Don't cry. Don't raise your eyes. It's only teenage wasteland. It's rather glow here. Let's get together. Before we get much older.